Hi all, welcome back to more Labyrinth, playing the extended campaign solo. This is my part 10, I think. So I've just came straight back here. Um, it's Jihadist per turn. We've got 5 cards left. Yeah. We've got 2 Jihadist cards, one of which is still unplayable at the moment. And that's the highest. We've got 3 ops, so we're going to... Hopefully that's not going to bite us in the bum. I think these events are all US. Well, I know 2 of them are because we came across one and we've just used the wiretapping one, not for an event. So my guess is renditions is probably as well. Okay, so anyway, Jihadist turn. They've got a bunch of cards left, so their first play is Let's Roll. That's the title of the main scenario that you start with. So US Cardos is not going to play it. Attack thwarted. Play if there is a plot in an ally or good country. No plot's been used yet at all yet. Reveal and remove it. Draw a card. Select one non-US country's posture. Pretty good. Okay, so they're not playing the event though, the Jihadists, so we're going to run through the flow chart. Playable non-US event. No major jihad success at poor possible. No, they've got 6 cells to our 6 troops there, and only 1 cell to our 6 troops. No, sorry, 5 troops there. Yeah, that's right. And this isn't poor, and we can't jihad in there because Benazir Bhutto's in play. So major jihad success, poor possible, no. Funding tight, and no. Funding's actually, is funding now moderate? I think it is, isn't it? Because the markers in there 7, and I want to say it's everything to the left of that. Is it not below and to the left, Grant? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's still okay, isn't it? Then again, it doesn't look ample. They've only got 3 left. Let me just double check that somewhere. Right, so it's explained on page 5. 4.7.4.1 funding as funding. That's funding changes. Move the jihadist funding marker between 1 and 9 to indicate corresponding tight, moderate, or ample. Available cells. Only cells in a box below or to the left of the jihadist funding marker are available to be recruited. Alright, so if it's down at 6, it can't recruit them, is that right? Example, funding is currently 6 and only 3 of 15 cells are active. In various countries, the ample box holds 5 unrecruited cells, moderate box another 5, and tight box remaining 2. The 7 cells in the tight and moderate boxes are available and could be recruited. The 5 in the ample boxes are not. The first cells to be recruited are placed in countries by events who come from the tight box. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, they're still okay, aren't they? Well, in fact, the marker's in ample, Grant, and that's all it's asking. It asks, is funding tight? Well, it would have to be down in 1, 2, the box 1, 2, or 3, and then the one further on, is funding moderate? It would have to be in 4, 5, or 6. Right, okay, I'm being daft there then. Right, well, always best to make sure you're getting it right. Right, so funding is not tight. Selling good or fair moves on where jihad success possible. No. I mean, this is the problem here. It's not possible. If it was, it would move to minor jihad here, and it can't do that. So you've got to say no. And then poor moves on 1 to 4 more cells than troops and militia where GSP. No. They've got to have 1 to 4 more than us. They've not. That's a no. Funding moderate, no. Cell available, yes. Recruit again. This is a no. And then if recruit, auto-recruited best jihad DRM, it's going to do that again in either Afghanistan or Iraq. We're going to go right down and come to Iraq again, aren't we? We're going to come to highest resource. Nothing changed there. Besieged regime, Syria, Iran, poor then fair then good. Yeah, it's going to be highest resource. So again, we're going to recruit for 2 this time in Iraq. Now it's starting to get iffy now. So they've only got 1 more cell on the track. Another 2 cells into Iraq. It's getting messy. Right, that's them go 3, 6, 8 to our 6. So they still only got 2 more than us. Okay, that's our first card play. And next. Right, okay, this could be bad. Queen Operatives is a jihadist event which says train jihadists without known terrorism nexus automatically travel 2 cells anywhere. Okay, well that must be able to be achieved. Right, how do we go about that one then? Oh, it's automatic as well. Anywhere. They're going to go in the US, are they not? Okay, so and we're not rolling on this because it says automatically. This is a bad card, isn't it? Let me just check what this might. It might have some info on this. 79. Yeah, it does. And I thought it might say that. Queen Operatives to the US. Which, yeah. Okay. Card 79. Let's just see. I mean, that's what's going to happen. Let's just see what we've got. Queen Operatives. It's about there somewhere, isn't it? There we go. 79 Queen Operatives. An elaborate international system developed after 9/11 to screen airline passengers and intercept those suspected of terrorist intent remained vulnerable to penetration by operatives whose ties to jihadism had been carefully obscured. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, so I assume that they're both going to go to the US. Let's just see. I mean, so travel, recruit and travel to. I mean, it's telling us the US, and there's travel from, right? But. Well, it's not going to be adjacent anyway, but the thing is, it's automatic anyway, so it doesn't really need to be adjacent. It could override that, to be honest. So where's it going to travel to? Poor Muslim, but that's not applicable. That's only if recruit, right? Moving on. A good Muslim country, there's none of them. A fair Muslim country with the best jihad DRM. Again, I'm going to leave Pakistan. I'm going to say that there's no jihad available there. So a non-Muslim country. So that's where I think that's where it would go if the event instruction didn't say the US. So when you travel, well, let's see what the solo rules say. I guess I'm wondering because we've got we're traveling 2 cells here, and obviously I'm wondering. So travel, it says each point of card value used for travel enables a cell to move from country to country, and if active, shift the sleeper. Non-adjacent travel must roll. Travel between adjacent automatically succeeds. A failed travel roll removes the cell. We're not going to fail. It's going to be automatic. Designate all origin and destination countries for a card play before rolling. Cell may only travel once and play of a given card. Right, so normally would you... Normally we select different let's just say that this was just a travel operation, and we had two travels. Well, it comes down to it came down to non-Muslim there, but I mean there's a few non-Muslim countries, right? So travel to not Islamist rule Pakistan. It's looking for a non-Muslim country here though. Bashir's regime, Syria, Iran, US, right? So it does come to the US there. So with the first point, I would travel to the US, and I'm just like, would the next one? Is that how it works? I mean, I think if you look at the 2-player rules... Oh, hang on. Was I looking at the boat there? No, I was not looking at the boat. I was just looking at jihadist operations. Because I think it was a 2-player game. You were playing as a jihadist player. You could choose where you were travelling either of these cells. You wouldn't have to travel them both to the same country, I don't think. So what does the bot say for travel? Where second use a where flowchart to determine where operations events occur. Plot governance. Right, I'm not finding. Right, for travel, here we are. So this is page 13 down the bottom here, 9.4.2.6. For travel, first select all destinations in descending order for one cell each. Maximum per category or flowchart box. A non-Islamic rule country with Baziz regime, then regime change, then aid, if any. So hang on, does that cover the priorities? Of course, you've got to remember that this would be looking at the old flowchart, Grant. The first one is a non-Islamic rule country, right enough. With Baziz regime, then regime change. Well, that doesn't come into it. Then aid, if any. See, I'm not sure I can use it. Well, hold on. Look at the awakening rules then. Look at the awakening rules. Because if that's been updated, yeah, that's, in fact, you know what, I maybe should have been maybe looking, there's not, well, there is quite a bit about the, yeah, travel, here we go. Page 8 of the awakening rules, 12.3.9. When performing a travel operation, the jihadist bot first identifies the target country and then determines the country or countries from which cells will travel. Right, understand that. Jihadist bot will never travel the last cell out of an auto-recruit country unless at least 2 other auto-recruit countries have a cell. Yeah. Thus, the last cell in an auto-recruit country is not considered movable except when 2 other auto-recruit countries have a cell. Okay. So, when performing a travel operation, jihadist bot first identifies the target country. I guess you would just follow the flowchart, get to the US. I mean, bear in mind, I shouldn't even be looking at the flowchart because the events instructions table tells me it's going to go to the US. But if that wasn't, and I was just doing a travel operation here, and we came to this, that's the one we came to that we would start, right, it's got to be a non-Muslim country we're travelling to. And then we would come across here and find a non-Muslim country. None of them apply. And the first one that applies is the US. So I would do that for the first point, and then I would do that for the second point. As you know, I sort of had my doubts that it might travel to different bits, and I want to say that's what the old bot is saying, isn't it? Is the old bot not saying First travel. Yeah, for one sale each. Select all destinations. Well, no, it's maybe not saying that at all, Grant. Yeah, okay. Right, well, okay, we're going to say that they're going to travel 2 sales to the US. Right, but where are they coming from then? You can see there's sales everywhere. Well, remember, we just read that this is a regime change country, so it won't move the last cell out of there unless there's 2 other regime change countries, was it? If we only travel the last cell out of an auto recruit country if at least 2 other auto recruit countries have cells. Well, there's only the one other auto recruit country that's got cells, so we're not going to move that last cell out, right? So we can't move that one. Right, so where are we travelling from? They're both going to the US. Adjacent, well, that doesn't work, but it doesn't matter. From an auto recruit country. Okay, so it's either going to be from Afghanistan or Iraq. We know that they're not going to travel that one out of Afghanistan, so they're going to travel 2 cells from Iraq to the US. Now, it's obviously it says never travel. For a given origin, travel active cells before sleeper cells. It's good. We're going to take 2 of the active cells, because they'll go underground again, and they're going to travel to the US, and that can't be good. We have 2 cells in the US. Now, we don't need to test the US because it's got its own posture set. Hard, it's good, but that's it. Okay, automatically travel 2 cells anywhere. Obviously, if you're playing this yourself, you could decide where they went and where they went from. But the bot instruction thing said they were going to the US, which makes sense. And then the where decides that it's better coming from or recruit, because they can just recruit more back into there without having to roll the dice. Okay, that's their 2 cards done. Nothing to get removed. They were both, well, one was put in for event, but it's just discarded. Right, so back to us. Right, does that ring some alarms? Well, yes. So, thing is, with no troops there, could we move troops there to the US? Seems kind of strange, but man, it's not the prestige I'm trying to get a hit on, but when there's troops there, you get to target 2 cells, don't you, rather than 1. And the United States is good, so well, let's see what deploy says. Move troops, target ally, Muslim country, or the troops track. Oh, well, there you go. Right, so we can't travel troops to unless it's a Muslim country. Okay. Okay. Well, can we disrupt? Remove cells of Cadre, gain prestige. Target a non-Muslim country, which could be the US. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the options, is a non-Muslim country. Non-Muslim country, ally, and non-Muslim country but not Iran, an ally or a country with at least 2 troops. Well, US is a non-Muslim country. Affect 1 cell if target country's posture is hard. Affect 1 cell. If target country's posture is hard, affect 2 cells. And the troops, we've not got the troops. Result, affected cells go active, or if already active are removed. If no cells, remove Cadre. If last cell removed, place Cadre. Ugh. So they're still going to end up with a Cadre, aren't they? Damn. Okay. Maybe we should do this. I think it's bad having cells in the US. Surely that's really bad. Because they can plot in the US, can't they? We've never seen them get to plot. How do they get to plot if the funding's tight and there's no cells available? Yeah, I don't know. I've not come down the flowchart to get to that, but okay. Well, so I've got that as a 1, and well, that would knock your prestige down, but we have said that we could be doing disruptions and knocking our prestige back up again. I think I'm going to have to play that card anyway. Well, unless, and I'm talking about this, I don't need to play it, but if I want to keep that E3 RPS strikes, which is not really looking like doing anything, to be honest, but if I did want to keep it, I would have to play this for in the event. The -1 prestige bit is not too scary. The unknown part about the blocking of the UN nation building is what scares me, because maybe that's a good event. I don't know. But, okay. Right, okay, I think I'm going to do this. So I'm going to play this just for the ops. Not the event. So I'm going to play that for 1 ops. And I'm going to do Disrupt in the US. It's like good, obviously, so it only costs me 1 op. Target non-Muslim country. And then the special part about it is if the target country's posture is hard, which it is, the US is hard at the moment. Yeah, so I think that's okay. So if it's hard, where are we? Disrupt. If it's hard, affect 2 cells. Let me just look in yeah, I've been just looking at the bot rules and the base game, which I maybe shouldn't have been. Well, hang on, this isn't a bot rule, Grant. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to play that for 1 ops, and we're going to do a disrupt in the United States. The United States is hard, so it's going to affect 2 cells. These cells are sleepers though, so we're going to activate them. Right, but for my second card play, I'm going to get rid of them. Right, well, I think I'm going to play this then. So I'm going to play this for the 1 ops. Which is going to trigger this event, which is kind of scary. Right, I'm just going to do the ops first while we're here. I'm going to again do a disrupt in the US. And because the country's posture is hard, I get to affect 2 cells, and I'm going to remove the 2 cells so they go back to the track. Because, I mean, it feels like that's bad. Like having cells in the US. I'm pretty sure it's bad. I've not really thought out what could all happen, but yeah. Okay, so, and then the unfortunate part to this is the Vieira de Melo slain. Vieira de Melo slain. Beloved UN leader killed in war zone. Play if a regime change country has a cell. Well, it does. There's 2 regime change countries with cells. -1 to prestige, and then it's going to block UN nation building. So -1 to my prestige, and then Vieira de Melo. Yeah, so that marker's coming into play. Don't know if that's focusing or not. Yeah, I think it is. So it's going to block that. I'll put that in the events and play. Because I don't think there's any other great place to put it. Well, I should have had a look at the event. Yeah, doesn't sound like a good thing, does it? There we go. Vieira de Melo slain, 2003. Despite the absence of an express Security Council mandate for the March 2003 invasion of Iraq, the UN opted to participate in reconstruction, dispatching the highly effective Brazilian diplomat and Secretary General Annan's friend, Sergio Vieira de Mello. A car bomb, thought the work of the Zarqawi jihadist network, in August struck the UN's Baghdad office, killing him. By November, the UN had scaled back its operations dramatically. Okay. So that's my 2 cards played. Now, this was marked and then removed from the game. So, and then the other card, is this going to be discarded? So that goes discard pile, and this one gets removed. And the event's in play. So, hopefully I'll remember that. UN nation building, yeah, I mean it might slip me by that, but I should keep an eye. We've got 2 events out. We've got Saddam capture and we've got that Vieira de Mello. So Saddam's blocked, UN's blocked. It just says UN, but it said on the card UN nation building. Okay, right, back to right. Yeah, I'm probably pushed for time now, but maybe we could still squeeze. Hopefully we can finish this part off. Right, so back to the jihadists. We've got 3 cards left. They've got the same, I think. Yeah, they've got 3 as well. So the first card is Wahhabism. Right, there's an R3 cost. Just jihadist card. Saudis export fundamentalism. Add a number on Saudi Arabia's governance to funding or set to 9 if Islamists rule. Add a number of what? Oh, right. Does it just mean the marker? Well, that sucks. They're going back up to 9 again, aren't they? Can't seem to get them down. Add the number on Saudi Arabia's governance to funding or set to 9 if Islamists rule. Yeah, okay. So they're Saudi Arabia there. It's poor. So my take is that's a 3. So they're going to play this. 95. Actually didn't look at the... Well, that last event was straightforward, wasn't it? Stretching up now. Yeah, what was it? 56. So just have a quick look just in case. Right, there's nothing there in that. Right, Wahhabism. I don't think this will be here either. 95. No, there's not. Okay, so yeah, this is playable. And card 95. So let's see what we've got. That's it there. Wahhabism. Again, my pronunciation's unlikely to be correct, but I can only just give it a go. Modern Saudi Arabia roots its legitimacy in an 18th century alliance between the Arab ruler Ibn Saud and the militant fundamentalist preacher Ibn al-Wahhab. Saud and his heirs cited Wahhab's teachings as religious cause for the military conquest of other Muslims, and the Wahhabist al-Saud dynasty finally unified much of the Arab Peninsula in the early 20th century. The Saudis' Cold War alliance with the United States against the common foes of communism, then Khomeini's Iran, and finally Saddam Hussein, has not prevented the siphoning of the kingdom's oil wealth toward fundamentalist and many charge jihadist mercenary work abroad. Okay, so that's our first card. They're going to play that for the event. Add a number on Saudi Arabia's governance to funding or set it to 9 if it's Islamist rule. It's not Islamist rule, but it is 3. That's what it must mean. Add the number of his governance. His governance is poor, which is 3. Okay, so 1, 2, It's back up to 9. I can't go 3, so that'll be that. Right, that's our first card play. Let's do another one. Right, another jihadist event, only one strength, one ops point this time. Ansar al-Islam, Kurdish jihadists. Play if Iraq's governance is worse than good. Well, it is. Place a cell in Iraq or Iran, and then remove. Okay. Let's just check the event table. 50. No issues there. It's saying Iraq or Iran, though. I mean, okay, if you're playing this as a player, you would... Yeah, it's maybe a little strange. That's not in the 50. It's not there. I mean, Iraq comes before Iran there, but I mean, they've got 6 cells already in Iraq. Play if Iraq's governance is worse than good. Well, it is. It's poor. Place a cell in Iraq or Iran. No, I'm not sure how to deal with that then. Because why would it say Iraq or Iran if you wanted to... Well, for the 2-player game, it's giving you the choice, the player. I'm surprised that's not... Right, okay, I'm going to have to try and find something about that. I mean, Iraq comes first on the card, so do we just go with that? Possibly the solo player would just go with that. I would have liked to have thought that it would have said in the table there, in the event instructions table, it would have just said Iraq. Or it would have, said something about if it wanted it to go in Iran. Right, give me a sec. Hi all. Right, back to continue with this part 10. Yeah, I never got back, so I'm not sure how far I'm in. I think it's 30 odd minutes. I should probably check that, just so I've got an idea at the time. Yeah, so 32 minutes, so just so I've got an idea. Try and wrap it up about the hour mark, that's what I like to try and do. Okay, but there's quite a few things to discuss here. A couple of mistakes I've made, that I've spotted, and a few comments, etc. Where do I start? Well, actually, I may as well start with my question, although I've added another question now. But the question regarding Benazir Bhutto and the no jihad situation in Pakistan. And basically, I know I've been through it a lot. I mean, when it hits here and here, where jihad success possible, and when you look down, jihad success possible talks about awakening reaction markers. Best DRM jihad result again is talking about awakening reaction markers. So it's not really saying can a jihad be done right there and then. It's just saying which one's got the best diral modifiers. So I think the literal reading of the rules would suggest that Pakistan is a target for it, but it seems silly because you can't carry out a jihad. Anyway, so my question was that, without going right through the question again, well, I suppose I should. Right, sorry, okay. Playing the solo games in the US, and I'm using the newer Awakening bot. My situation is Benazir Bhutto, which stops any jihad operation in Pakistan, is in play. Pakistan is at fair neutral and has 5 cells and no troops. The bot draws a 3 ops event card. They can't do a jihad in Pakistan because of Benazir Bhutto. The flowchart appears to take me to recruit, and then the op flowchart. Moving through this, we come to fair Muslim with best jihad DRM. No other country applies here except Pakistan. Will the bot recruit in Pakistan? So it comes to fair Muslim with best jihad DRM. And we talked about that. And that's what that is right now. I mean, I think the literal reading of the rules it is, but it could be argued that, well, you can't do a jihad, so how can the diral modifier be? It's got to be in. But it's not a negative, because if we look up what DRM means, and if we look up rule 11.1.3, it talks about awakening reaction markers. Okay, so I got a reply from, well, the name is Zod. So he says, nope, Pakistan have any jihad possibilities. Right, I'm not sure if he's worded that wrong. Nope, Pakistan have any jihad possibilities. Fair Muslim with best jihad DRM is not relevant here. That's his response at first. And I thought, and I spoke about this because I said, well, I can understand somebody coming back and just saying, look, you can't jihad there, so what are you talking about? Like, skip on by that. And to be honest, I think I'm going to come to that conclusion that I am going to skip on by that. But me being the rules person and whatever, but I feel like it's one of these sort of cases that, one of these rare cases that is going to arise and whatever. I'm not so sure though, mind you. That event's been put in play a lot of times before. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else in the solo game come up with this, but my guess is they probably said, well, look, no, we can't target there because a jihad's not possible. Anyway, but Tim also replied after that, more in my thinking. He says, it seems to me like it would. Right, stop there. I don't see anything in the definition of best jihad DRM that requires jihad success to be possible. Among the choices you have, Pakistan is the best jihad DRM, which is 0. Yeah, the best jihad DRM in Pakistan is 0, so Tim's looking at it literally by the rules as well. Zod comes back, he says, sorry, because Benazir Bhutto, which stops any jihad operation in Pakistan, no jihad is the worst DRM in my humble opinion. Well, yeah, I mean, and then, right, well, I'll just carry on. I replied to this with, I understand what you're saying, however, I asked the question about best jihad DRM is only asking about, I asked the question because best jihad DRM is only asking about awakening reaction markers. It does seem strange to ignore the fact that a jihad cannot occur while Benazir Bhutto is in play, but what if Bhutto's shot event occurs and then that goes away? You could say, well, when that goes away, things change, and then this suddenly becomes a target again. The country becomes a target. And I think that's the way I'm going to look at it. Because I don't really, I mean, it seems rather silly coming by Pakistan all the time and then putting more cells in, and when it can't carry out the jihad anyway. It does seem a bit daft. Anyway, and then I've just had a reply from Zod again. He says, that's an interesting thought. Yes, the rule can be taken literally, and that's what me and Tim are doing here, I suppose. You could say that since there's no awakening/reaction DRM, you have to choose Pakistan. I have already done so, and the jihad bot will gradually place all these cells there. Yeah, I think I've already done so. I'm not quite sure what that, but I mean, he's saying that the bot will just keep placing cells there and not be able to do anything in that country with them apart from travel them elsewhere, I suppose. He carries on. It's on the meaning of best jihad that I place my interpretation as being the best chance of succeeding in a jihad. Yeah, and I think that is how you have to look at it. Even though it doesn't really say that in the rules, but he says it's more in the logic of the flow chart. Yeah, he says 60, which must be card Bhutto shot card. 60 Bhutto shot will be the card to change the situation at that moment. And yeah, I think he's got a point there. When that happens, then things change and we can start targeting Pakistan as the best jihad DRM, blah, blah, blah. He says, for the definition of DRM, you refer to rule 11.1.3, which I give here for other readers. And there's the rule. It says, each awakening marker adds 1 and each reaction marker subtracts 1 to any war of ideas, jihad or major jihad diros in that country. So, I mean, that's what it says. It doesn't say anything about it being impossible to carry out a jihad there because of that event. But again, you could be thinking, well, come on, He finishes with, you could decide that Pakistan is best jihad because there's no awakening/reaction and have a completely different game orientation. It's fun too. I think there are apps for this game. I wonder what they've programmed as a rule interpretation for that. Yeah, that would be real interesting if you were able to create that situation in the app and how the app would deal with that. I'd be very curious to know that. So we might hear more on this one because it does seem to be one of these sort of strange ones. I think from now I'm going to ignore the I'm going to ignore where jihad success is possible rule and best jihad DRM in the likes of Pakistan because it can't do a jihad. Now if the event takes that away, then we'll deal with that then. Anyway, thanks for your comment, Zod, and Tim for chiming in there as well. Okay. Right, so I think I released part 6 last night and then I released part 7 this morning sometime. Oh, I might be. No, I think you've only released part 6. Anyway, there was 2 comments I spotted from part 6, and then I noticed a mistake, which I added afterwards into the header. So the third comment here got added later after the video was posted. So anyway, at the 4-minute mark, I'm talking about Afghanistan and Iraq, about being auto recruit countries. And I think this is when I was getting muddled up. This was regime change. This was Islamist rule, and I thought, right, it can only go to Afghanistan. I think I've spoken about this before though, quite a few times. So Iraq should have been considered there. I think we checked over and we got away with it. So I think all's good there, and I'm hopefully on the ball with that bit now. Anyway, right, and then at the 40-minute mark, when I go to play Saddam Captured, let's get the card. I actually read this card and some Saddam Captured been removed. Is it one of the ones that it would be? Yeah, it is. So Saddam Captured, when I'm playing this, it says play if troops in Iraq. There wasn't any troops in Iraq at the time. And I think the card after that, I done the same, and it's when I done the same, I realised that there wasn't troops. Well, ended up there was then troops in Iraq because I carried out the regime change. So I'd played the Saddam Captured, and then my next card carried out the regime change. Well, that's wrong because I didn't have troops there at first. Fortunately, if we just sort of say that Grant done it the proper way, carried out the regime change first, and then done Saddam Captured, I couldn't see anything wrong with in doing it that way, and that would have made it legal. There was an adjustment to the prestige track, but it all balanced out in the end when I looked at it. So let's just assume we've done it that way. My comment left there was, where's the troops in Iraq, Grant? Let's assume we play the regime change before we capture Saddam. I don't think this would have affected anything if done this the proper way. Okay. So, and then I noticed a mistake, and it's with the GTMO card. So was that removed? Or was that just put in that's there. That's there. It's not really. We don't really need to see the card. What we need to know is it's an unassociated event, right? With 3 ops. Okay. So I'm playing that card for the bot, and we've got it down in the area to play, and then I go through the flow chart and I say, right, it's going to be a playable non-use event. Yes, we're going to play the event. Is it unassociated? Yes. We're going to add the card values to the reserves. So I say all that, and I don't do this. And unfortunately, I've since done it twice now. So twice I should have added, there were both three ops cards that I had failed to I give them the reserves. And I think this mistake is one that I'm guessing a few folk are going to get. I could see myself. I mean, both times I make the mistake, I talk about adding the reserves, and then when you go through what you're doing with the card and you work out, you're recruiting or you're traveling or you're carrying out a jihad and whatever, and then by the time you get back to the card, you've just it's clearly slipped my mind about adding the reserves, because twice I've done it now, twice. So I've just noticed that I forgot to give the bot the reserves for playing this event. I've moved on quite a bit. We'll try and add 2 reserves for them later on. Right, I had a look at what would have happened. What would have happened there was we travelled from Afghanistan to Pakistan with 2 cells at the time. That was the next jihad operation. And it was a 2 cost card. Well, they would have had 2 reserves, so they would have used both you've got to use all the reserves, but you only get a maximum of 3. So then they would have travelled an extra cell into Pakistan. I can't go back and change that, but I could, and I'm going to, right now, give them 2 reserves. Right now, right? Now, the second one, well, hang on, let me pull that up. Right, just while I remember this, there's a few other things I want to talk about, but I've just remembered what it was. The second one recruited, and at that time there were 3 cells on the track, actually, as there are now. It recruited, again, it was a 2 ops card. Now, with it being a 2 ops card, they would have grabbed the reserve, the 2 reserves, and like I say, got a 3 again, but I'm going to leave them with that for the previous one because I can't fix that. But this one I'm going to fix. They recruited into Iraq with 2 cells. Now, what they would have done is recruited into Iraq with 3 cells. So I'm going to grab another cell for the track. This wasn't that long ago, and although that footage has not been uploaded yet, it will be sometime soon. It's part 10, I think. Well, sorry, it's just the previous video. It's just the same video as what I'm recording. It's in part 10. So if you watch when I recruit 2 cells into Iraq, that's when I should have 2 reserves to recruit the other 2. And I'm not going to use them for that, because they should have been used for something else. So I'm going to give them that because they should have got them earlier. And these other 2 cells, well, you'll see when you watch back part 10, had been the 2 that recruited into the US, and they 2 we panicked about and made sure we disrupted them back to the track. So that's that. Right, and then the other bit, I think it's right, but I left a sort of question in my header of this part 7 at the 40-minute 30-second mark. Just asking, is this last ops point travel attempt correct? And what we do is we decide that travel is going to go to Pakistan and Afghanistan's adjacent. So we travel 2 cells. We've got 3 ops. We travel 2 cells, and we have to leave the last cell here because it's regime change. It's an auto-recruit country, and there's only one other auto-recruit country, so I can't travel that other cell out. I then decide to take another cell from Iraq and attempt to travel into Pakistan, and I think it succeeds, doesn't it? Yeah, it succeeds. Sorry, this was back in part 7, actually, yeah. This bit was back in part 7, wasn't it? Yeah, the bit I'm talking about, the reserves, and this just happened quite recently. Because, yeah, that's right. I think that's right. Yeah, and what I worried about, uncertainty about that is, the reason Pakistan was the target of the travel to, no, that's not true. That's not true. At that time, was it because it was Fair Muslim, the best jihad DRM before we played Bhutto Shot? I think it was. But yeah, okay, I think that's what it was. I think it was that. So that is the target of the travel to. So maybe that tells you that it's right, Grant. They're going to travel to Pakistan. Where they're going to travel, and no, you know the bit that gets me is because it came to here, didn't it? Among candidates, find travel to priority, and then is there a movable cell adjacent? Yes, and that's why it comes to travel. But once we've done our travelling as much as we can adjacent, should we then look further away to do if we've got any ops left? Or would we maybe have been considered to just move to radicalisation with that last point? You know, because our travel from was adjacent, but we could only travel to from there, so we've got 1 point left. The other one, travel from, would be an auto-recruit country, and that's what Iraq is, and that's what we done. And we rolled the dice and succeeded. I mean, I think it's right, but I'd like any opinions on that, if possibly. No, you wouldn't travel because there's no more adjacency to travel, and you have to roll on that one, so you would use that point as radicalisation. I mean, I think what we done was right, but anyway. Okay, right, and there's a couple of comments. This is from part 6, from Tim. And I eventually read this in the rules about how to get rid of the regime change, bringing it to good governance. But he points out here before, probably videos before I realise. He says regime change goes away when you get the governance to good, i.e. when you finish the regime change. But his next part is a tip, basically. He says, once you conduct a regime change, it's generally a good idea to focus all your efforts on completing it. Starting a second regime change is very risky. So I said, okay, thanks, Tim, noted. So we're in that very risky situation. And the thing is, I could have probably got this no cells here, you know, got that cadre out of there. But you can see you're battling against these. It's going to take a while to... I mean, I've got this is poor allies, so I can work on that, and I can work on that a little bit as well. But while we're doing that, they're going to maybe be recruiting more into there. Anyway, right. But it does seem like that is the thing to do. Regime change and then try and work on getting this to good. So, yeah. And his other comment was, I hate to break it to you, but auto-recruit means exactly what it says. They don't have to roll, but he says that you realise that later. Right, I think that was it. I think that's it. I want to say, I thought there was something else, but I can't think what it is. Could there be anything from part 5? Because that was part 6. I don't think so. Comments? Right, no. Oh, okay. So, yeah, and I've just recently, and I'm going to pop over to the computer in the hope that somebody's, although it doesn't look like we're going to get quick answers in this game, you can sometimes tell right away when you first put your first question out there how some people are pretty supportive and answering stuff and whatever. I mean, I answer a question every once in a while, but I must admit, I don't want to give the wrong information, so I want to double check it, so I end up getting rule books out and looking at it, so a lot of the time I think, no, I better just leave it to the pros. So we've obviously played this as the first jihadist card, and it was add the number of Saudi Arabia's governance to funding or set it to 9. Yeah, we done that as the event, and their funding's now back at 9. It wasn't Islamist rule, but it was it went to 9 by moving, because Saudi Arabia is at 3. So I think it was doing at 7, wasn't it? Unfortunately, so now it's back up at 9. So this was the second card we drew, and this is when I had to cut off. Play if Iraq's governance is worse than good. Well, it's poor, so this is a playable jihadist card again. Place a cell in Iraq or Iran, and I was just stumbling about at the end there, wondering how to decide between Iraq or Iran. Before I left, I didn't do any more recording then, but I looked on the computer. The best I could find is it looked like folk were just randomising between Iraq or Iran. And I feel like there's maybe something in the rules that actually tells you that, you know, if it comes down to it, you randomise, but but I can't seem to find it. Although I didn't spend a lot of time looking, mind you, but I feel like there's maybe something there that would just say, look, if you're stuck between the choice of these two, just randomise it. But I thought, well, I'll pop the question out there, and then somebody might point me to that rule. or might just say, yeah, we randomise between the two, because I'm sort of wondering, is there another priority between the two? And I looked here, and there's not really. You've got jihad, marker, alignment, governance, plots. That's where they would plot. There's nothing. I mean, well, I could say you could maybe consider looking at recruit. What I'm doing is placing a cell. I'm not recruiting a cell though. So, but I mean, I suppose let's look at that. Not Islamist rule. So it's between Iraq and Iran. I mean, Iran's got nothing in it, remember, and Iraq's a poor regime change country. So if you were just looking at the recruit table, not Islamist rule, both of them are that. Pakistan, no. Besieged regime, no. Syria, Iran, unless no arsenal. Well, there isn't an arsenal. Well, hang on, that is for forever war anyway. So going further down, Iran, no arsenal. For awakening, doesn't apply either. So Syria, US doesn't count. Poor, then fair, then good. So poor and Iran's fair would say Iraq, going by the priorities in the recruit table. But I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with that, because we're not carrying out a recruit operation here. We're just placing a cell. So let's see. Let me have a quick look in case somebody has come back with a quick response. Right, yeah, no reply. So hang on a sec. So what I think I'll do is I'll do a randomise between the two, and kind of hope that it turns out to be Iraq, because then I can say, well, the priorities table for recruit said Iraq. Not only that, Iraq's the first name on the card, but I don't think you can take that. I'm pretty sure. Like I say, I did do some searching, and it looked like there was some sort of solo sort of sessions telling you about this, that, and the next thing. And I'm sure in one of them, this card had came up, and the guy had randomised between Iraq and Iran. So let's do that. So I'm going to say Iraq's 1, 2, 3, and Iran's 4, 5, or 6. Yeah, Iraq's 1, 2, 3. Alright, we would get Iran then. Okay, so place a cell. Now we don't need to test Iran, because Iran's fair, and that's it. Okay, so the cell comes off the track. There is 2 still there, and goes into Iran. Now remember, I do have these 2 reserves available, and I've just boosted the bot with them. They should have had them way back. I couldn't go back and fix that one. I was able to sort of fix that one, sort of. And I'll let them have access to the reserves. And it says that they'll use them whenever they can, up to 3. So if they play a 1 ops card, they'll grab the 2 reserves. Oh, they play a 1 or a 2 ops card, they'll grab the reserves to turn it to 3. Okay, they'll use it right away when they can. Okay, well, we'll leave this in here, and actually I'm probably just going to wrap this video up now, because that's coming up for an hour. And if I do get some other reply that suggests, maybe if somebody says, no, I would use the recruit table priorities, or they might point me to something else that says it should be Iraq, I might have time to be able to fix that as well. But that was a randomise between the 2, so we'll go with that. Right, so both these cards are done, and no reserves from these. These were both. Well, that's the thing, I suppose. If we got unassociated event just now while we've got 2 reserves and played the event out, we wouldn't be able to add any more reserves there anyway, would we? I was kind of hoping that might have been what happened, and I would have got away with my mistake, but it wasn't the case. So they 2 are, now hang on, this was played, wasn't it? So this is removed, this one. That one's just going to the discard pile. And they've only got 1 card left. And we've got 3. We're still going to get away with playing weak. and the other two where we can do what we like with them, so that's good. Again, I'll probably keep hold of this. Starting to feel a bit silly now because it's not really heading anywhere, is it? Okay, right, well, I'm going to cut this part now. This is part 10, which is almost an hour, I think. And, yeah, but I'm just going to come straight back. No, you know what? I'll get this started copying across. I'll be back shortly. Cheers.